A group of men were talking in a room after eating dinner. They were discussing surprising gifts and strange inheritances. Then Mr. Brumont, sometimes known as the famous judge or the famous lawyer, went to stand near the fire. He said, "I need to find an heir who disappeared in very sad circumstances. It's a simple and terrible story that might happen every day, yet it's one of the worst things I've heard. Here are the details. About 6 months ago, I was called to visit a dying lady. She told me, 'Sir, I have a very sensitive and tough task for you. Please look at my will on the table. You'll get 5,000 francs if you can't find my son after I die, and 100,000 francs if you do.' She asked me to help her sit up in bed so she could talk more easily. Her voice was weak, and she had trouble breathing. The place she lived in was very wealthy. It had a fancy, yet simple room with soft and comfortable furniture." The lady went on. "You're the first person I've told my terrible story to. I'll try to find the strength to finish it. I want you to know everything, so you, who are kind and knowledgeable, can help me as much as you can. Listen to me. Before I got married, I loved a young man. My family didn't like him because he wasn't rich enough. But soon after, I married a very rich man. I got married because I didn't know better, because I obeyed, and because, like many young girls, I didn't really care. I had a baby, a boy. My husband died a few years later. The man I had loved got married too. When he found out I was a widow, he was very sad because he wasn't free. He came to visit me, and he cried so much that it broke my heart. At first, he visited me as a friend. Maybe I shouldn't have let him visit so often because he was married. But I couldn't stop him from coming. How can I explain? He became my special friend. How did this happen? Can I even describe it? Can anyone describe such things? Do you think we can always resist? Can we keep saying no forever? Can we keep refusing the begging, the tears, the desperate words, the pleas on bended knees, the passionate feelings that the person we love sends our way? We want to make them happy in every way, even if it goes against what's considered right. But that takes so much strength. It means giving up our own happiness, self-control, and even what we're supposed to do. In short, sir, I was in love with him. I was happy. I also became friends with his wife. We raised my son together, and he became a fine young man. He was smart, wise, and had big, generous ideas. When he turned 17, he was very close to my friend. He liked him almost as much as I did. He called him his dear friend and respected him a lot. He learned good advice and how to be honest and honorable from him. He saw him as a loyal friend to his mother, like a father, guardian, or protector. One evening, the three of us were going to have dinner together, which was something we all looked forward to. I was waiting for both men to arrive, wondering who would come first. The door opened, and it was my old friend. I went to him with open arms, and we shared a kiss. Suddenly, we heard a small noise, like someone moving quietly. We felt that someone else was there with us. We turned around and saw my son, Gene. He looked pale and stared at us. There was a very awkward silence. I moved back and reached out my hand to my son, as if I were asking for his forgiveness, but he was gone. We stood there, my friend and I, unable to say anything. I sat down in a chair, feeling a strong desire to run away, disappear into the night, and never come back. I started crying with deep, painful sobs, my heart breaking, and my body shaking. I felt a terrible sense of shame, something that fills a mother's heart in moments like this. He looked at me with fear in his eyes, too scared to come near me, speak, or even touch me because he was worried my son might return. Finally, he said, "I need to follow him, talk to him, and explain everything. I must see him and make things right." And off he went. I waited, but it was a tough time. I was anxious and on edge, jumping at the smallest sounds, and each little noise from the crackling fireplace filled me with strange and unbearable feelings. I waited for an hour, then two, my heart filled with an unfamiliar dread. The pain was so intense that I wouldn't wish it on the worst criminal, not even for 10 minutes. Where was my son? What was he doing? Then, around midnight, a messenger brought me a note from my friend. I still remember what it said. "Has your son returned? I couldn't find him. I'm downstairs. I don't want to come up at this hour." I wrote back with a pencil on the same piece of paper. "Gene hasn't come back. You have to find him." I stayed in that chair all night, waiting for him. I felt like I was going crazy. I wanted to run around wildly, even roll on the floor. But I didn't move at all, just kept waiting, hour after hour. I couldn't even imagine what was going to happen. My soul was in agony, and I was torn by terrible doubts and fears. Can you understand how I felt, sir? My chambermaid, who didn't know anything about what was happening, kept coming into the room. She thought I had gone mad. I sent her away with a gesture. She went to get the doctor, who found me having a nervous breakdown. I was put to bed, and I got very sick, even had brain fever. When I woke up after a long time, I saw my friend by my bedside, and I cried out, "My son? Where's my son?" He didn't say anything. I asked with a shaky voice, "Is he gone? Did he do something terrible?" No, I promise he didn't. But we couldn't find him, no matter how hard we tried. Then, all of a sudden, I got really mad and frustrated. You know how women sometimes get angry for no reason. I told him, "Don't come near me or see me again until you find him. Just go away." And he did go away. I haven't seen either of them since then, sir. I've lived like this for 20 long years. Can you even imagine what this meant for me? Do you understand this terrible punishment, this never-ending pain in a mother's heart, this awful waiting? I say never-ending, but it's about to end because I'm dying. I'm going to die without ever seeing either of them again, not one or the other. The man I loved has written to me every day for 20 years. But I never let him see me, not even for a moment. I had a strange feeling that if he came back here, my son would show up at the same time. Oh, my son! My son! Is he alive or gone? Where is he? Maybe he's on the other side of the big ocean, in a place so far away that I don't even know its name. Does he ever think of me? Oh, if he only knew. Children can be so cruel. Did he realize the terrible suffering he put me through, the despair and the pain? I've endured it for so long, and now I'm about to die. Me, his mother, who loved him with all the love a mother can give. It's so cruel, so cruel. Tell him all this, sir, please. Share with him my last words. My child, my dear, dear child, be kinder to women in need. Life is already tough and unkind to them. My dear son, think about what your mother's life has been like since the day you left her. My dear child, forgive her, love her now that she's gone, for she had to endure the worst kind of suffering a woman can go through. She struggled to breathe, trembling, as if she was speaking to her son, and he was right there by her bedside. Then she said, "Tell him, too, sir, that I never saw the other." She stopped speaking again and, with a broken voice, said, "Please, leave me now. I want to die alone because they're not with me." Mr. Brumant added, "And I walked out of the house, gentlemen, crying like a silly person. I was crying so hard that even my driver looked at me. And to think that every day, stories like this are happening all around us. I haven't found the son, that son. Well, say what you want about him, but I call him a bad son."